given the theme of our podcast, which is comeback cast and coming back from adversity, I'd like to hear how you transitioned into the Navy. Is there anything when you were young, though, that you came back from of significance, or what inspired you to join the Navy?
Out with a little bit of personal history and family history. My parents separated when I was 11 years of age. I have two brothers and a sister. Our sister's the oldest, and she still lives in North London. She's 81 years of age, and she's in great spirit. She's sprightly. She actually does, believe it or not, 1 day a week of prison chaplain work at one of London's toughest prisons. She still catches the underground train and goes there, and she used to do I think 3 days a week. My oldest brother still lives in hometown in Wales, not very well, sadly. He's in his mid-70s. And I have a brother that lives in Papua New Guinea. He's lived there for over 30 years. Eventually divorced when I was 15, and I stayed with my mum. Like a lot of young kids at the time, I was very angry with my dad. I was working at the time. I left school and I became an apprentice carpenter working for a local construction company back home in Wales. And my mum was very sick. She was very sick for a number of years. I did a 4-year apprenticeship, and my brother, who now lives in Papua New Guinea, he was in the merchant marine at the time, what we call in the UK the merchant navy. And he would be traveling all over and coming home from all these wonderful foreign ports of call. I was a little bit envious. However, on my mother's side, we come from a seafaring family anyway. I lived on the harbour back home. The house that my great grandfather actually built was where my mum and I and my brothers lived. Shortly before they all flew the coop and left for various parts of the world. And so I was an apprentice carpenter. And back in those days, in the British newspapers, you'd see a little advertisement in the corner, whether it was a broadsheet or a tabloid paper, join the army, join the Air Force, join the Royal Navy, whatever. And so I enjoyed my apprenticeship in carpentry, but I hated working on construction sites in Wales in the depths of winter. It was just horrendous. So I filled in one of these little slips of paper and I sent it off one day. And I'll never forget the day. I came home from working on the construction site one day, and my mother was sat in the kitchen across the dining table with all these pamphlets laid out. And she says, "Come and sit down, boy." So I sat down and she says, "What's all this then?" And I said, "Oh, I just thought I'd send away for it, for interest." And she says, sorry guys, I'm getting a bit emotional here. She said, "Nothing would make me prouder, but finish your apprenticeship first." Very, very wise words. Very wise words. She died less than a year later. I'm done, I finished my apprenticeship. I spent a year sort of in my hometown. I was 19 years of age at the time. Spent a year just, doing bits and pieces. And I actually went to a local technical college and studied photography for a year, which is one of my hobbies. And then I thought, you know what? I sent away for those brochures. Let's do it. Now, some people say, well, your brother was in the Merchant Navy. Why did you join the Royal? And there's one very simple answer. I wanted to become a physical training instructor. And the Merchant Navy doesn't have that. It's as simple as that. I'm not saying that was the overall and be all. I did also have a lot of my friends that I grew up with in high school from my hometown were in the British Armed Forces, the Royal Navy. My best buddy in all my time on this planet, who I grew up with. He was in the Royal Navy at the time. He served 26 years. I went for the interview in Swansea in South Wales, and I was in 2 months later. May the 9th, 1978, I went down to the basic training camp, HMS Raleigh in Tor Point, a place called Tor Point in Cornwall, did my boot camp. And then I became a sonar operator initially, because back in those days, you couldn't join the Royal Navy straight away as a physical training instructor. You had to do another job first. You then had to apply to become an instructor. You had to be recommended for it. And then you had to take part in a 3-day aptitude test at the Royal Navy School of Physical Training. Unfortunately, I got accepted, went on the course in September 1981. I joined the Navy 78, so I did 3 years as a seaman, as a naval seaman, sonar operator. So traveled some great deployments, and then became a PT instructor, qualified in March of 1982. And whenever you come out, they call it coming out of the box. Whenever you come out of the box as a baby PT instructor, you always go to a naval shore establishment. So I was on a naval air station in the south of England, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I was 19 when I lost my mum.
Before you go, did you ever, you said you were angry with your father. Did you ever reconnect with him?
Yes. After I left the Navy, I got a very good job. I went home to UK because I received a call that my dad wasn't very well. He'd remarried, and my stepmother, in all fairness, looked after him extremely well. 2 years of age, I went and reconciled with him, and I'm glad I did.